I caught my wife flirting with her coworker on a Tuesday afternoon. I wasn't supposed to be home early. It wasn't dramatic. No touching. No secrecy. Just leaning too close, laughing too freely, her eyes doing that thing they hadn't done with me in years. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. She smirked, arms crossed, confidence sharpened by indifference. "If you're so jealous, just leave," she said. "The door's always open." 18 years of marriage reduced to a challenge. I looked at her, searching for doubt, fear, regret. There was none. Just entitlement. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I nodded once, quietly, and went upstairs. That confused her more than shouting ever could. She assumed I'd cool off, apologize, accept the disrespect like I had before. That night, while she slept peacefully believing she'd won, I packed my life into 2 bags. The house was silent when I reached the door. The slam echoed longer than I expected. "My name is Andrew Cole. I run a mid-sized property maintenance company in western Pennsylvania. Commercial buildings, emergency repairs, long contracts built on reliability. I'd built my life on consistency, and for years I thought marriage worked the same way. My wife, Rachel, worked in project management. Deadlines, meetings, co-workers who blurred lines and laughed at boundaries. Over the past year, respect had slowly drained from our home, replaced by sarcasm and impatience. When she told me to leave, she believed I needed her more than she needed me. That belief came from years of me choosing peace over confrontation. What she never understood was that patience isn't weakness. It's restraint. When the door closed behind me that night, it wasn't anger driving me. It was clarity. I didn't leave to teach her a lesson. I left because staying would have taught her that disrespect had no consequences. People confuse tolerance with loyalty. They're not the same thing, and that misunderstanding would cost her everything she took for granted. I didn't go far. Just a small apartment near my office, already prepared from earlier contingency planning most people never consider necessary. I slept better that first night than I had in months. In the morning, I called my lawyer. Not to threaten. To formalize. Years earlier, after watching a friend lose everything in a brutal divorce, I'd structured my finances carefully. Not hidden. Not dishonest. Separate operating accounts. Clear documentation. Shared expenses funded appropriately. Core assets protected. Rachel never cared how things worked. She cared that they worked. That morning, I froze discretionary transfers and locked access that had always been conditional. By noon, nothing was missing. But nothing was freely available anymore either. She texted once, "You're being dramatic." I didn't respond. Silence isn't punishment. It's information. By evening, her tone shifted. Confusion replaced sarcasm. She hadn't checked the door that carefully before daring me to walk through it. When someone tells you to leave, believe them. Then leave completely. Rachel called that night, voice sharp, accusing me of manipulation. "You're trying to scare me," she said. I corrected her calmly. "No. I'm setting boundaries." She laughed nervously and hung up. The next morning, she went to the bank. That's when panic entered the conversation. Calls followed. Texts stacked up. Accusations turned into questions. Questions turned into fear. She showed up at my office unannounced, eyes red, confidence gone. "You can't just do this," she said. "We're married." I didn't argue. I handed her a folder. Agreements. Structures. Years of planning she'd never read because she assumed love meant access. Her hands shook as she flipped pages. "You planned this," she whispered. "I planned for respect," I replied. "You planned for entitlement." The coworker stopped texting her that same day. Romance rarely survives consequences. When Rachel left my office, she wasn't angry anymore. She was quiet. That's when she finally understood the door she'd opened couldn't be closed again. The weeks that followed were predictable. Lawyers adjusted expectations. Threats disappeared. Negotiations shortened. Rachel moved out, taking personal belongings and the version of the story she preferred telling. Our friends noticed the shift immediately. The flirting became public knowledge. Sympathy evaporated. The coworker transferred departments. Distance kills confidence faster than confrontation ever could. Rachel asked once if we could talk things through like adults. I agreed. She apologized for hurting me, but more for misjudging me. I accepted neither. You didn't lose me when I left, I told her. You lost me when you dared me to. That ended the conversation. I focused on work, routine, stability. Without tension, my life simplified quickly. Mornings were quiet. Evenings were mine again. The slam of that door wasn't dramatic. It was definitive. People think closure comes from explanations. It doesn't. It comes from actions that align with self-respect. Rachel learned that too late. By the time she understood what she'd lost, it was already irreversible. In small towns, truth doesn't need advertising. Stories circulate, then settle. Rachel tried explaining her behavior as harmless, playful, misunderstood. But details didn't cooperate. Her friends stopped defending her. Her family stopped asking me to reconsider. Accountability isolates people faster than anger ever could. I didn't celebrate her discomfort. I didn't need to. Peace arrived quietly. I reinvested in my business, rebuilt routines, and stopped questioning my instincts. I learned that jealousy isn't the problem people claim it is. Disrespect is. When someone mocks your boundaries, they're already halfway out the door emotionally. Walking away simply finishes the journey they started. Rachel sent one final message weeks later. I didn't think you'd actually leave. That sentence explained everything. She believed my presence was guaranteed. She believed the door only worked one way. She was wrong. Leaving wasn't revenge. It was maintenance. You don't repair a structure that's actively collapsing. You step out before it takes you down with it. Months passed. Rachel tried rebuilding elsewhere, carrying the same patterns into new rooms. I heard updates occasionally, none surprising. I didn't interfere. Distance handled that better than I ever could. Friends asked how I stayed so calm through everything. The truth was simple. I'd already mourned the marriage before I left the house. That slam wasn't anger. It was final acceptance. I no longer had to compete with coworkers for my wife's attention or explain why respect mattered. The quiet that followed was healing. I learned something important. When someone challenges you to leave, they're betting you won't value yourself enough to do it. Calling that bluff changes everything. I didn't lose a wife that night. I lost a role where I was expected to tolerate disrespect to preserve comfort. What I gained was clarity, autonomy, and self-trust. Some people mistake silence for surrender. In reality, silence is often the sound of someone choosing himself for the first time. That choice changes everything permanently. The slam of the door echoed through the house longer than I expected. Not because it was loud, but because it was final. That sound marked the exact moment she realized words have weight. Just leave isn't a threat. It's permission. And permission, once accepted, can't be revoked. I didn't walk out to punish her. I walked out to preserve myself. She thought the door was always open because I'd never used it before. She forgot doors work both ways. That night ended my marriage, but it also ended doubt, hesitation, and self-betrayal. I don't hate her. I don't miss her. I miss the man who once believed respect would return on its own. He learned something valuable. When someone tells you to leave, listen. When they mock your boundaries, enforce them. Walking away isn't weakness. It's the cleanest form of strength there is. The door didn't just close behind me. It opened a life where I no longer had to beg for basic respect. And that realization was louder than any argument ever could be.